Enjoy your stay here and sign the divorce papers. Okay? Lucian's cold voice filled the hospital room. He had his arm around Anna, his girlfriend, who wore a bright red dress. Zahara, a smart black woman who had built a big company called Novatech from nothing, lay in a hospital bed. She was sick with early-stage cancer and hurt deeply by the betrayal. Her own husband, the man she trusted, had planned to use her from the start. He had taken her ideas and hard work to become successful, and now he was ready to leave her when she needed him the most. Would Zahara break down and give up, or would she find her strength and fight back? This story is about courage and hope. There are secrets to be discovered, and Zahara's life will never be the same. The city where she lived was full of busy people chasing big dreams. Tall glass buildings shone in the sunlight like a crown. But Zahara only heard one thing: her own heartbeat. She was born in a poor neighborhood in Brooklyn, where the buildings were old and broken. As a little girl, she dreamed of a better life, bigger than the cracked sidewalks she walked on. Her mother's voice often came back to her. "Zahara, your skin might make the world doubt you, but your mind will make the world respect you." Those words became her shield and her fuel. They pushed her forward, even when life was hard. When she was 22 years old, she started Novatech with just a laptop and a big dream. She wanted to create technology that could bring people together, not push them apart. That's when she met Lucian. They met at a startup conference in Manhattan, where people shared ideas and tried to get support for their projects. Lucian was a white man with a charming smile and a smooth, confident voice. He noticed Zahara, not just because she was brilliant, but because he saw how much potential she had. To Zahara, Lucian seemed like a real partner. They worked late nights together in a small office, drinking coffee and planning the future. 6 months later, he asked her to marry him on a rooftop under the stars. Zahara said yes, believing that love was the missing piece in her life. She didn't see that he was already thinking about how she could help him get richer. Their wedding looked perfect to the world. Zahara's dark skin glowed against her beautiful white dress. Lucian looked handsome in his suit. On social media, people admired them as a power couple. Zahara believed it too. She worked very hard, sometimes 18 hours a day, making Novatech better. Lucian took the spotlight, talking to investors, shaking hands, and taking credit. Zahara thought it was fine. She told herself they were a team. Novatech grew quickly. By their 3rd year of marriage, big companies in Silicon Valley were talking about them. Zahara's work was helping small businesses and charities get faster, better technology. She worked with passion, remembering her mother and wanting to help people like her. But Lucian only saw money. He wanted big, flashy projects and a fancy office. Zahara paid for their beautiful home in Brooklyn and even covered Lucian's losses when his side businesses failed. She believed in him, maybe too much. Then, little by little, things began to change. Lucian started coming home late. He got strange messages on his phone and turned the screen away from her. Their conversations became short and cold. When she asked questions, he would smile and say, "Just business, babe." Her grandmother's voice echoed in her head, "A man who loves you lifts you up, not just himself." Zahara ignored the warning. She was too focused on her biggest project yet, a huge deal worth $12 billion. She planned to surprise Lucian with the news once it was final. She imagined his happy face when she told him. One morning, as the sun lit up the city, Zahara sat at the kitchen table with her laptop. She was tired but excited. Lucian walked in, looking messy and busy with his phone. "Morning," she said. He just grunted and kept scrolling. She thought about telling him the news, but decided to keep it secret a little longer. He left quickly without saying much, and the uneasy feeling in her chest grew stronger. At the office, Zahara worked hard all day. Her operations manager, Khalil, noticed how tired she looked. "You okay?" he asked. She smiled and said, "I'm fine. We're almost there." That night, she stayed late, finishing her work. Her lawyer sent her a message. Final draft ready. Review tomorrow. She smiled. This was it. Her dream coming true. But she didn't know Lucien was already planning to destroy everything she had built. The next morning at home, Zahara tried again to connect with him. She poured him coffee and asked, "Big plans today?" Lucien shrugged. "Just meetings." She offered to get dinner together that night, but he said, "I'll be out late. Don't wait up." Then he left without looking back. Zahara sat alone thinking about how distant he had become. She pushed her feelings aside and went to work. Her team was excited, especially Nia, her lead engineer. Nia showed her the new algorithm. "This will blow the investors away," Nia said. Zahara felt proud, but her head was hurting again. She ignored the pain and kept going. That night, she came home to an empty house. Lucien had left a note. "Meeting ran late. Don't worry." She poured herself a glass of wine and opened her laptop. Another email from her lawyer confirmed the contracts were almost done. She smiled, but then she saw a notification on her phone, a tagged photo on Instagram. Lucien was laughing at a rooftop bar, his arm around a woman in a tight red dress. The caption said, "New ventures, new vibes." Zahara's heart pounded. The woman's face was blurred, but the dress was unforgettable. She told herself it might be a client or colleague, but deep inside, she already knew the truth. The next morning, Zahara woke up very early, before the sun came up. Her head hurt more than yesterday, and her body felt heavy and tired. She stood in front of the mirror and looked at herself. She saw her dark skin, her tired eyes, and the strength she had tried so hard to keep. She thought about her mother, who had worked 2 jobs to buy food for the family, and her grandmother, who had lived through a hard life in a world that tried to bring her down. Zahara remembered her grandmother's words, "You are stronger than their doubts." She held on to those words as she got dressed for work, choosing a smart blazer that felt like armor. When she reached the office, Khalil was waiting for her with coffee and a pile of papers. "You're working too much," Khalil said gently but seriously. "Let me help you with some of this." Zahara shook her head. "I can handle it, Khalil. This deal means everything." Khalil didn't argue, but she could see the quiet worry in his eyes. That worry stayed with her all day. In the evening, Zahara sat alone in her office, the city lights shining behind her window. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from her husband, Lucien. "Out with investors. Be home late." Her hands trembled as she read it. She knew the cracks in their marriage were growing. She thought about the mysterious woman in the red dress, the late nights, the cold mornings. Her grandmother's voice came back to her. "A house with no light is no home." Zahara shut her laptop. Her heart was heavy, but she still had a strong will. The deal she was working on was her proof that she could build something no one could destroy. But as she stepped into the night, her head hurt even more, like a warning she couldn't ignore. The next morning, the busy sounds of Brooklyn faded as Zahara stood in front of her team at Novatech's headquarters. Inside the bright conference room, everyone waited to hear about the $12 billion deal that could change their future. Zahara, wearing a sharp navy blue suit, spoke with confidence. Her dark eyes shined with purpose. She explained numbers and ideas so well that her team listened in awe. But her headache kept getting worse. She pushed through it, sharing her dream of how Novatech could help communities forgotten by big tech companies. Naya, her lead engineer, nodded excitedly, but Khalil, her operations manager, noticed her hands trembling. In the middle of her sentence, the room spun. Her vision blurred, and the numbers on the screen looked like moving lights. Her knees gave way, and she grabbed the table, breathing hard. "Zahara, are you okay?" Nia called. But it was too late. Zahara collapsed. The last thing she heard was Khalil shouting her name as everything went black. When she woke up, she saw the plain white ceiling of a hospital room. Machines beeped softly around her. Her mother, Dessa, sat by her bed holding a Desiree and crying. "Oh, baby," Dessa whispered. "You scared me so much." Zahara tried to speak, but her throat was dry and sore. Then a doctor came in. His face was serious. "Mrs. Harris, you've been pushing yourself too hard. You're exhausted and dehydrated," he said. Then he paused. "We also found something else, early-stage breast cancer. It's treatable, but you must rest and start treatment right away." The words hit Zahara like a heavy hammer. She thought of her grandmother who had died from the same disease and of her mother's shaking hands. Dessa squeezed her fingers. "You are stronger than this, Zahara. We'll get through it." But Zahara's mind was full of fear and the deal she had been working so hard for. "I need my phone," she whispered. Khalil came in carrying her laptop bag. "Zahara, you need to focus on yourself," he said firmly. "The team can handle this. I've got it." Zahara gave him a weak smile. "Thanks, Khalil, but I can't stop now." Hours later, after tests and IV drips, Zahara still couldn't stop thinking about the deal. She texted her lawyer, saying she would review it from the hospital. Then Lucian walked in. His suit was perfect, and his arm was around Anna, a white woman in a red dress cut high above the knee. Zahara's breath caught. Lucian's eyes were cold. He tossed a folder onto her bed. "Enjoy your stay here and sign the divorce papers, okay?" he said. Anna smirked. "It's over, Zahara. Lucian needs someone beautiful and refined." Lucian looked her in the eye and said cruelly, "Your skin, your everything, was never enough." The words cut deep. Dessa gasped, but Zahara lifted her hand to silence her. "You think this breaks me?" she asked quietly. Anna laughed, but Lucian's jaw tightened. He pushed the pen toward her. "Just sign, Zahara. Make it easy." Zahara thought about their years together, all the nights she stayed up working, all the dreams she thought they shared, lies. She signed the papers, each stroke of the pen ending that chapter of her life. Lucian and Anna left without looking back, their laughter echoing down the hall. Dessa cried, but Zahara stared at the ceiling. She still had the deal. That was her proof she was more than Lucian's betrayal. She told her lawyer, "Send me the contract." Khalil frowned. "Zahara, you need to rest." "Rest won't save me." "This will," she said. When she opened the file, the $12 billion figure glowed on the screen. She signed it, her promise to herself. The room was quiet, except for the IV drip and Dessa's soft prayers. Her body ached, but her spirit was fierce. Lucian thought he had broken her, but he was wrong. She remembered her grandmother's words, "A storm doesn't break a tree with strong roots." She looked at Khalil. "I'm going to fight," she said. "Not just the cancer. Everything." The hospital walls felt like they were closing in, but Zahara's mind burned with determination. She would not let Lucian's cruel words about her skin and her worth destroy her. The $12 billion Novatech deal was her legacy. It was proof that a girl from Brooklyn could rewrite the rules. She had planned to surprise Lucian with the victory, but now it was only for her. She called her lawyer. "Schedule the signing tomorrow on video." The lawyer said, "Zahara, you're in no condition." "I'm signing it," she cut in. Khalil stepped closer. "You don't have to do this now." "This deal is who I am," she said. "He doesn't get to take it from me." The next morning, Zahara woke in pain, but she didn't care. Khalil brought coffee and documents. She wrapped a silk scarf around her head to cover the spots where stress had thinned her hair. She looked in the mirror and saw a woman tired but unbroken. At noon, the video call started. The Novatech board appeared. 8 men in suits and 1 sharp-eyed woman. "Let's make history," Zahara said. She signed the digital contract. The board clapped. "Congratulations, Mrs. Harris," the chairman said. "You're now the majority shareholder." Zahara's heart swelled. She had done it for herself. Then she called her lawyer again. "Transfer all my assets to my name. Freeze Lucian's access to everything." "Are you sure?" the lawyer asked. "Do it," Zahara said firmly. "He's not my husband anymore." The hospital room felt small. The air was heavy with all the big choices Zahara had to make. Her mind kept running in circles, thinking about Lucian's betrayal. She could hear Anna's mean laugh in her head. She remembered the divorce papers she had signed. She remembered the hurt from Lucian's cruel words about her skin and her worth. But now, those words didn't hurt as much. She was slowly building herself back up, piece by piece. She looked at Khalil, who was putting her papers in order. His quiet presence made her feel a little safer. "Why do you stay?" she asked suddenly, her voice rough. Khalil stopped and looked right at her. "Because you're worth fighting for, Zahara. Not just Novatech, the company, but you." Those words were soft, almost like a promise. She wasn't sure she could believe them yet, but she couldn't ignore them either. That night, her mother Dessa slept in a chair beside her bed. Khalil went out to get food. Zahara stared out the window at Brooklyn's twinkling lights. She thought about the life she had built and the one she had lost. The cancer diagnosis was like a shadow she couldn't run from. But the signed contract in her hands was her shield. It proved she was more than Lucian's lies. She remembered her grandmother's voice. "When the world tries to bury you, plant yourself deeper." Zahara closed her eyes. Her heart was firm now. She would fight the cancer. She would fight the pain. She would fight the betrayal. She would fight for the company she had built and for the woman she was becoming. The hospital room became her battlefield. The walls were plain and white, but they had seen her quiet fight against her sickness and her broken heart. The slow drip of the IV was like a steady clock for her determination. Lucian's betrayal still hurt, his cruel words, Anna's red dress, the divorce papers, but Zahara knew pain well. She had signed a $12 billion deal for Novatech from that same hospital bed. It was her way of saying she was still in control. Now she faced weeks of treatment, but her spirit was brighter than the hospital lights above her. Her mother Dessa stayed by her side, her hands rough from years of hard work. She told Zahara stories about the strong women in their family. Khalil, her operations manager, worked quietly, going in and out of the room. He kept the company running without her. He brought her reports to look over and told her how things were going. "We closed the first phase," he told her one afternoon, setting a folder for it on her tray. "Naya's team is ahead of schedule." Zahara gave a small smile through her tiredness. "You're keeping my dream alive, Khalil," she said. "It's your dream, Zahara," he said with a gentle smile. "I'm just holding the fort." Dessa noticed the way Khalil looked at Zahara. "That boy cares about you," she said quietly one evening while helping Zahara tie a scarf. "He's just being loyal, Mama," Zahara said. "It's his job." But Dessa's wise eyes saw deeper. "Loyalty like that isn't just a job, baby." Zahara stayed quiet. She still thought too much about Lucian's betrayal to trust someone else. But she knew Khalil's presence made her feel calmer. One night, when she couldn't sleep from nausea, Khalil read her a book. Their eyes were watching God. "You remind me of Janie," he said, closing the book, "stronger than the storms." Her heart ached at the kindness. "My grandma used to say, a woman's strength is her roots," Zahara said softly. "Your roots are deeper than you know," Khalil told her. "You're not just surviving, you're building something that will last forever." His words lit a spark inside her. Days passed. Dessa brought her homemade stew and ignored the nurse's protests. She told more family stories. How her great-aunts scared off landlords with a broom. How her mother sang gospel songs to block out sadness. "You come from fighters," Dessa reminded her. "This cancer and this man, they're not bigger than you." Zahara held on to those words whenever the pain or memories tried to drag her down. She worked on her laptop, checking Novatech's plans and emailing her team. Khalil kept her away from mean online gossip. One night she got a picture on her phone, Lucian and Anna at a rooftop bar. Anna wore another bold dress and Lucian smiled smugly. The caption read, "Moving on to better things." Zahara's chest tightened, but she didn't cry. She deleted the photo. "He doesn't get to define me," she told Dessa. "Never did, baby," Dessa said. Khalil, who overheard, added, "You define yourself every day, Zahara. Don't forget that." Her eyes softened at his words. As the months went on, her body slowly got stronger. Khalil often walked with her down the hall, ready to catch her if she stumbled. "Why do you stay, Khalil?" she asked one quiet night. "You could be running your own company." "Because you're not just my boss," he said. "You're you, and I believe in you." Her heart skipped, but she simply whispered, "Thank you." By the third month, the doctor said the cancer was responding well. She needed more rest, but she was already thinking about the future. She called her lawyer. "Make sure Lucian's name is off everything. I want Novatech clean." Her assets were safe. Lucian's access was gone. She thought about Lucian's laughter and Anna's smirk. They thought they had broken her, but really, they had just made room for her to rebuild. With Dessa's prayers, Khalil's quiet help, and her own strong will, she was ready to fight for her life and her legacy. 6 months later, Brooklyn's skyline sparkled under the night. Zahara was finally out of the hospital. She stood in the grand ballroom of the Meridian Hotel for Novatech's first charity gala. She wore a deep green gown that shimmered under the lights. Her hair had grown back and was styled beautifully. Her skin glowed with pride. The gala was her idea, to raise money for Healing Hearts, a new foundation to help women betrayed in marriage. It was built from her own pain. She planned everything, the gold invitations, the music, the speeches. Her mother stood in the crowd, proud. Khalil was nearby, his eyes full of quiet support. "You ready for this?" he asked. "I was born ready," she said with a smile. The crowd parted as she walked in. People knew her story, her sickness, her divorce, her fight. Some thought she was a victim, others saw a warrior. Tonight, she would show them who she truly was. A young black businesswoman came up to her. "You're the reason I keep going," she said, her voice shaking. "You're the reason I'm here," Zahara replied. When it was time for her speech, the room went silent. "6 months ago, I thought my story was over," she said. "I was betrayed. I faced cancer. I was told I wasn't enough. But I learned that strength isn't about avoiding heartbreak, it's about what you build from it." She told them about Healing Hearts, promising to help every woman who'd been left behind. The crowd clapped loudly, some with tears in their eyes. But then the doors opened. Lucian and Anna walked in. Lucian's suit was sharp, but his face looked tired. Anna wore a silver dress and held onto his arm. Whispers filled the room. Rumors said Lucian's business was failing, and Anna was cheating. They were ignored by the very people who once wanted to be around them. Zahara's eyes met Lucian's. She felt nothing, not anger, not pity, just freedom. She went on with her speech. Healing Hearts would build shelters and job programs for women starting over. The crowd cheered again, and donations poured in. After her speech, Khalil came to her side. "You were incredible," he said. She smiled, really smiled. "We're just getting started." Lucian and Anna stayed in the corner, their importance fading away. Dessa hugged her. "You showed them, baby." The gala ended in triumph. Paparazzi waited outside, but Zahara walked through them with her head high, Dessa on one side, Khalil on the other. Headlines would soon talk about her victory and Lucian's fall, but Zahara didn't care. Tonight, she had built something real. Not just a foundation, but a clear truth about her worth. She stepped into the Brooklyn night, the lights shining bright, and felt something new: power. The big party at the Meridian Hotel was Zahara Harris's way of showing the world, and herself, that she could not be broken. Her success was built not only on computers and technology, but also on her courage. Outside the hotel, the city was busy and full of life. As the party ended and the night went on, people in Brooklyn could still feel the excitement. Zahara had grown stronger. She wore a beautiful green dress, and her brave spirit shone brightly, pushing away the sadness from her past. But in another part of the city, in a fancy apartment high above the streets, Lucian Harris was falling apart. Lucian used to make everyone in the business world believe in him with his big smile and charming words. Now he walked back and forth across the shiny marble floor, his phone buzzing with calls from people he owed money to. Anna, his girlfriend, was lying on a velvet couch. She had worn a silver dress to the gala earlier, but now she was in a silk robe. She scrolled on her phone, looking at Instagram, not really caring about Lucian's stress. The life they had built together was starting to break apart. Lucian's businesses in cryptocurrency and real estate had always secretly depended on Zahara's money, her contacts, and her ideas. Without her, they were empty and weak. People were beginning to notice. Investors who once trusted him were now avoiding him. 1 week after Zahara's party, bad news hit the headlines. Harris Ventures faces bankruptcy and fraud allegations. The news talked about unpaid debts, shady business deals, and rumors that Lucian had a gambling problem. Social media exploded with the story. Friends stopped talking to him. Suppliers refused to work with him. His phone, once a symbol of power, now only brought bad news. Anna had her own trouble. People had found out about her affair with another businessman, and the gossip made her look like someone who jumped from one man to another for money. At the party, she and Lucian had tried to look important, but most people ignored them. Anna scrolled through pictures of Zahara from the gala. "She's just lucky," she muttered. Lucian's voice was rough. "Lucky? No. She's smart, Anna. I was the lucky one, and I ruined it." Anna rolled her eyes. "Don't get soft now. We'll fix this." But the truth was, the apartment felt colder every day. Bills were piling up. The rent was late. They had more wine in the fridge than food. Lucian kept making desperate phone calls to investors, but no one trusted him anymore. One rainy evening, he got an email that made his heart sink. His biggest investor was pulling out, saying the company's leadership was unstable. Lucian's hands shook as he tried to call. No one answered. The money was gone. Anna noticed his panic. "What now?" she asked. Lucian's face was pale. "Everything's falling apart. Happy now?" "Don't blame me," Anna snapped. "You wanted this life." They argued loudly. Anna said Lucian had dragged her into his mess. Lucian shouted that Anna had pushed him to leave Zahara. "You said we'd be unstoppable," he yelled. Anna laughed coldly. "Unstoppable? You're a fraud, Lucian. Without Zahara, you're nothing." The words hit him hard. He stormed out into the rainy night. Back at the apartment, Anna sat alone, scrolling through Instagram again. Worse that Zahara's glowing photos felt like knives of jealousy. For the first time, Anna wondered if she had chosen the wrong man. Lucian decided to find Zahara. He went to the quiet hotel where she was staying after leaving her old home. She was resting there after her cancer treatments. He stood at her door looking messy and tired. "Zahara, please," he said, his voice breaking. "I messed up. I need your help." Zahara stood there in a simple sweater, her eyes calm but strong. "Help? You insulted me, betrayed me, threw me away. Why are you here?" Lucian's shoulders dropped. "I'm broke. The company's gone. I got into gambling, drugs. I thought I could fix it, but I lost everything. I'm sorry. I was wrong." Zahara looked at him, the man she once loved, now broken. She wasn't surprised by his confession. She remembered all the nights she paid his debts, all the dreams she gave him, and all the cruel things he'd said about her skin and her worth. Her grandmother's words came to her mind. "A man who breaks you doesn't get to beg for your pieces. You made your choices, Lucian. I built you up once, and you betrayed me. I won't save you again." Lucian's eyes filled with tears, but Zahara didn't move. "Go," she said firmly. He left, disappearing into the rainy night. When he returned to the apartment, Anna was packing. "I'm done, Lucian," she said, her bags ready. "You're sinking, and I'm not going down with you." She walked out, leaving him alone. His name, once respected, became a warning in business meetings. Don't be like Lucian Harris. Meanwhile, Zahara's success grew. Her gala had raised millions for her charity, Healing Hearts, which helped women hurt by betrayal. She moved into a new apartment with a view of Brooklyn. The pain of her past, Lucian's betrayal, his cruel words, and her battle with cancer was still there, but it no longer controlled her. She had signed a $12 billion deal for her company, Novatech, and turned it into a place that gave opportunities to women like her. She went back to work only weeks after chemo, still weak, but sharper than ever. She reorganized teams, promoted women like Nia. her lead engineer, and started programs to teach technology to kids in poor neighborhoods. The press loved her. Magazines and talk shows wanted her story. This isn't about revenge, she told a crowd at a women's summit. It's about knowing your worth when others try to take it. The audience cheered loudly. One person who had been there for her from the start was Khalil, her operations manager. He had brought her coffee in the hospital, read to her when she couldn't sleep, and kept Novatech running. Zahara began to notice him in a new way, the way he stayed late after meetings, how his laugh made her feel calm, how he never pushed her but was always there. One night, as they worked late, Khalil said softly, "You're incredible, Zahara. You make the impossible look easy." Her heart fluttered, a feeling she hadn't allowed herself since Lucien. One evening, Khalil came over with work files, but they ended up sitting in her small garden, talking and laughing under the stars. "Why do you stay, Khalil?" she asked. "Because you're not just a boss or a story, Zahara. You're you. I don't promise the world, but I promise I'll be here." Her heart was afraid. "I'm scared. I've lost too much to believe in promises." "Then let me show you, day by day," Khalil said, holding her hand. For the first time in months, Zahara smiled, a real smile. She let herself believe in the possibility of love again. Months later, Zahara stood in front of a mirror. Her curls had grown back. Her body was stronger. She was about to give a big speech at a tech conference. Khalil waited downstairs, smiling. "Ready to change the world again?" "Always," she replied. They walked out together into the Brooklyn night. Zahara knew she wasn't just surviving anymore. She was in love. And this time it was real. A year had passed since her life had fallen apart. Now she stood on her balcony looking at the sunrise over Brooklyn. Her dark skin glowed in the light, her curls crowned her head, and her eyes were full of dreams. Her past had scars, but they were now part of a beautiful picture, a story of strength, love, and a future brighter than ever. Tonight was special for Zahara. She was starting a new part of her life. It carried the strength of her family from the past and the dreams of people she had inspired. Her company, Novatech, had grown big and important all over the world. Its computer programs were helping communities that big tech companies had ignored. Zahara's Healing Hearts Foundation had become a place of hope. It gave money to shelters, job training, and therapy for women who had been hurt by love. Her email was always full of letters from people. Young girls in the Bronx dreamed of learning computer coding. Single mothers were starting new lives after heartbreak. Black women wrote to her saying she was proof that their skin was not a wall blocking their dreams. Zahara answered every letter. Her words connected her own pain to their hope. The news called her a symbol, but Zahara saw herself as someone carrying the strength of her grandmother, her mother Dessa, and all the women who fought before her. Dessa once told her, "Your roots run deep," and Zahara felt those roots now, holding her to a bigger purpose. Khalil was her rock. He was calm and steady, the opposite of Lucien, who had been flashy and untrustworthy. Zahara and Khalil's love started quietly in a hospital and grew with their shared dreams. A few months ago, Khalil had asked her to marry him in her garden under the stars that smelled like jasmine. Those were the same stars they had stood under when they first trusted each other. His proposal was simple, no big show, just a ring and a promise. "I'll walk beside you, Zahara, wherever life takes us." She had said yes, knowing their love was honest. Their wedding was just days away. It would be small in a Brooklyn park with Dessa, Nia, and a few close friends. Zahara wanted it to be about love, not a big performance. That night, Zahara stood at a podium at a big international tech conference. The hall was full of important people, activists and dreamers. Her green dress sparkled, but the real light was in her presence. She spoke in a clear voice that made everyone quiet. "A year ago, I was told I wasn't enough," she began, "by a man I loved and by a world that judged me for my skin, my pain, and my illness. But I learned that worth isn't something people give you. It's something you take for yourself. It's in the code you write, the people you help, and the dreams you don't give up on. She then announced Novatech's newest plan, a network of tech labs for poor and ignored youth all over the world. Each lab would be named after a woman who had shaped her life, her grandmother, Dessa, and Nia. The crowd stood up, clapping so loudly the whole hall shook. After she left the stage, a young girl with neat braids and bright eyes came up to her. "I want to be like you," she whispered, holding a notebook full of computer code. Zahara knelt and smiled. "You already are," she told her, signing the notebook. "Keep building." The moment reminded Zahara of her own childhood when her mother's voice made impossible dreams feel real. Backstage, Khalil was waiting. "You changed her life tonight," he said, taking her hand. Zahara leaned into him. "She's changing mine," she replied. Lucien and Anna were now gone from her life. Lucien's businesses had fallen apart because of his debts and addictions. His charm couldn't hide the truth anymore. Anna had been exposed in scandals and disappeared from the public. Zahara heard whispers of their troubles, but she didn't feel revenge, only peace. Her grandmother's words came back to her. "Let the snakes slither away. Your garden is too rich for them." Zahara's garden was now full of life, love, and purpose. She had chosen to build a legacy that would shine brighter than their shadows. The wedding day came. It was a fresh, sunny morning in a Brooklyn park where cherry blossoms danced in the breeze. Zahara wore a simple ivory dress. Her curls were loose, her smile wide and real. Dessa walked her down the aisle with tears in her eyes. Nia and the Novatech team cheered in the small crowd. Khalil stood waiting in a simple suit, his eyes fixed on her like she was the only star in his sky. Their vows were short but full of love. Zahara promised to trust. Khalil promised to stand beside her in every storm. They kissed and the crowd clapped while petals fell from the trees. Dessa whispered, "Your grandma's smiling, baby." Zahara felt it too, a warm feeling that seemed to come from the past. In the months after, Zahara's legacy grew. Healing Hearts opened more centers all over the country. Each one was a safe place for women starting over. Novatech's labs trained thousands of young people. These graduates were building the kind of future Zahara once dreamed of as a little girl in the projects. She and Khalil worked together, mixing love and purpose in their daily lives. At a quiet dinner celebrating their first year of marriage, Zahara said, "I thought I'd lost everything." Khalil raised his glass and looked at her with soft eyes. "You're the dream, Zahara. You always were." That night, standing on her balcony with Brooklyn's lights shining before her, Zahara felt the weight of her journey. Not just the pain, but the strength it had given her. She was the daughter of fighters, a builder of big dreams, a woman who had turned heartbreak into hope. Her legacy was not only Novatech or Healing Hearts, it was the fire she lit in others. She had proven that no betrayal, no illness, and no doubt could stop her light. She whispered to the stars, "I'm here, Grandma, and I'm shining." The city answered with its endless hum, singing the story of a woman who had become eternal. Thank you for joining us on Zahara's amazing journey of strength, hurt, and victory. Her story shows the power of rising above pain and building a legacy that inspires. What part of Zahara's story touched your heart the most? Tell us in the comments and share where you are watching from. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that bring hope and courage. Until next time, keep shining.